So, welcome to today's deep dive.
Yeah.
We have a really fascinating and honestly kind of terrifying mission today.
Yeah, terrifying is probably the right word for this one.
Right. Because, you can have the strongest, most complex passwords in the world.
Mm-hmm.
You can use hardware security keys. You can refuse to click on a single suspicious link, and you can, lock down your entire network like Fort Knox. But you can still have your identity entirely stolen, completely manipulated, and weaponized.
And that is just the uncomfortable reality we are living in right now. I mean, we spent, the last 2 decades training the public to adopt this perimeter defense mindset.
Right, like locking the front door.
Exactly. Build a strong wall around your digital life, keep the bad actors out, and, your data is safe. But that whole model relies entirely on the premise that the threat is external. And the most urgent research we are seeing right now, specifically, there's this really highly detailed playbook that was recently published on besecurityaware.com, and it points to a completely different attack vector.
The primary threat to your digital identity today often comes from the people you have actively invited inside your perimeter.
Right, so today's deep dive is really dedicated to unpacking that inversion. We're going to look closely at the actual mechanics of this new breed of identity threat. And we're drawing on this really timely guidance from besecurityaware.com. We're going to explore why traditional cybersecurity advice it's totally failing us in the era of generative AI.
Right, it really is.
And most importantly, we're going to walk through a really specific 5-step playbook to protect yourself and your family right now.
Yeah.
And the goal today isn't just to scare everyone listening, though it is scary.
Yeah.
It's to explain why the landscape has changed so drastically and to actually deliver those actionable steps so people can protect themselves.
Right. So to really understand the mechanics of how this happens and how that locked door analogy fails, we need to look at a specific case, the case of a woman named Georgia Horton, because her story is kind of the perfect stress test for everything we thought we knew about staying safe online.
It really is. Georgia's case is so pivotal because her digital hygiene was, by all traditional metrics, flawless.
Flawless.
Completely. She wasn't sloppy with her credentials at all. She wasn't suffering from, password fatigue where you're just reusing the same login across 50 different websites.
Right. We're all guilty of that sometimes.
Right. She wasn't out there downloading strange attachments from weird emails. She simply existed online the way the vast majority of the population does. She shared vacation photos, pictures of her meals, weekend outings with friends, just the mundane, everyday visual documentation of a normal life.
Right. She discovered that dozens of her personal photographs were circulating on this illicit underground forum that was dedicated to sharing non-consensual pornography.
Yeah.
And so if she didn't get hacked and her cloud storage wasn't breached, the obvious question is, how did that material get there?
Exactly.
And the answer is really the turning point in this whole discussion. The images were posted by a man named Ethan Orchard.
Yeah. And what's fascinating here is that Ethan wasn't some sophisticated cyber criminal, operating out of a server farm in Russia or some other jurisdiction.
Right.
He was an old college friend.
Wow.
Georgia actually described him in interviews as the most non-confrontational person you could ever meet.
Oh, my gosh. So he was just a normal guy in her life.
Just a guy she knew. He was a known entity in her real life, which meant he was a trusted entity in her digital life.
Right.
He was on her social media. He had authorized access to view her posts.
Wow.
And just to close the loop on him, Ethan Orchard was eventually jailed. He was handed a 10-year sexual harm prevention order and given an indefinite restraining order, but, not before targeting Georgia and 2 other women he knew from college.
So, okay, let's unpack this. The breach wasn't technological at all. It was social.
Entirely social.
And this just forces us to reconsider the prevailing advice regarding AI and deepfakes. Because for years now, the tech industry has been trying to train the public to spot the fakes, right?
Right, the whole look for the glitchy mouth thing.
Exactly. They tell us to look for the glitchy rendering around the mouth or count the fingers on a hand or, check if the shadows align with the light source. But doesn't that entire framework place the burden of detection squarely on the victim?
It absolutely does.
I mean, in George's case, she couldn't possibly detect a subtle lighting glitch on an image that was downloaded, manipulated, and uploaded to a dark corner of the web she never even visits.
No, of course not. The whole spot the fake advice assumes you are the consumer of the media.
Right.
When you are the subject of the media, detection is completely irrelevant. By the time a victim discovers the material, the damage to their reputation and their mental health has already been inflicted.
Wow, yeah.
But there is another layer to Georgia's ordeal that often gets overlooked in all the hysteria around deepfakes.
What's that?
While Ethan did run many of her photos through generative AI to create explicit content, several of the images he uploaded were completely unaltered.
Wait, really? Unaltered?
Completely unaltered. He just took the raw, everyday photos she posted and dropped them into this predatory forum.
Oh, wow. So that suggests the technology itself isn't even the primary weapon. The weapon is just the context.
Precisely. The context is the weapon.
If you take a totally innocent picture of someone at the beach and publish it on a platform dedicated to, illicit objectification, accompanied by some suggestive or predatory caption, you have weaponized that image without altering a single pixel.
You really have. The context, the caption, and the specific audience that the image is served to, those are the destructive elements. Which means, because traditional detection methods are useless when a bad actor already has your photo, we have to radically reevaluate our relationship with the concept of raw material.
Right, reevaluate who we are giving our data to in the first place.
Exactly. I mean, cybersecurity used to focus exclusively on high-value targets. Your banking portal, your social security number, corporate IP, a selfie at the gym, or a picture of your dog had zero strategic value to a hacker.
Yeah, nobody cared about your vacation pic.
Right. But generative AI engines consume visual and contextual data like fuel. One clear, well-lit picture of your face is now sufficient raw material to place you in a fabricated, highly damaging scenario.
And it isn't just the pixels, right? It's the metadata of our lives.
Oh, absolutely.
The oversharing problem, the open source intelligence we just voluntarily provide every single day. The sports team on your kid's jersey, the intricate network of your family members tagged in a holiday post. When you assemble those seemingly harmless data points, you just hand a malicious actor a comprehensive blueprint for social engineering.
You are handing them the vocabulary of your life. If an attacker wants to compromise you or compromise someone close to you by pretending to be you, they don't have to guess how you speak or what references you might make. The blueprint is already public.
So the immediate defense, the obvious counter-argument that people always raise at this point is, well, I'll just set my account to private.
Right. Everyone says that.
The assumption is that by setting an Instagram or Facebook account to private, the threat is neutralized. You are locking the account so only your friends can see it.
And to be fair, employing a private account is a necessary baseline. It's a great first step. It acts as a filter against automated scraping bots and, bulk data collection by strangers. But we have to be incredibly realistic about its limitations. Go back to Ethan Orchard. He was on Georgia's follower list. He had a legitimate reason to be there.
Right.
A privacy setting is just a binary gate. It checks if an account is authorized to view the content. It does not possess an algorithm to detect malice or hidden intent or a sudden shift in a friend's psychological state.
Yeah, it makes me think of, it's the difference between building a concrete wall and just setting up a nightclub VIP list.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Right. Setting your account to private is just writing down names on a clipboard and handing it to a bouncer.
Yeah.
The bouncer keeps the random people on the street out, but they still let everyone on the list inside the club.
Exactly.
And if the person who starts the fire is already on the VIP list, the bouncer did their job, but the club still burns down. We have to accept this very uncomfortable reality that the category of someone I know in real life and the category of someone I can trust with the biometric raw material of my face are no longer identical.
That is such a crucial distinction. They are not the same category anymore. And Georgia captured the essence of that realization perfectly when she said, quote, "In this context, without my knowledge or consent, it's infuriating. It's a betrayal."
A betrayal, wow.
Yeah, that word betrayal is really the defining characteristic of this new threat landscape. We are dealing with the weaponization of inherent trust.
And the scope of that raw material, it extends so far beyond just photographs.
Oh, it multiplies exponentially.
Right. If a single static image can be manipulated into a career-ending fake, the threat matrix just explodes when we introduce audio and video.
It really does. I mean, let's talk about voice cloning technology. It has advanced at a staggering pace. It used to require hours of clean studio-quality recording to build workable synthetic voice.
Like actual professional voiceover work.
Right. But today, the threshold is dangerously low. A 10-second clip from a casual Instagram story where you are just talking to your phone about the weather or your morning commute that provides enough phonemic data to train a model.
Just 10 seconds.
Just 10 seconds. An attacker can scrape that audio and type out literally any script they want.
I imagine the defense against voice cloning is similar to the whole spot the fake advice for images, right?
Yeah.
People assume they will be able to hear the robotic cadence or the unnatural
They
pauses.
do assume that, yeah.
But if the attacker's goal isn't to produce a pristine audiobook, but rather to induce immediate panic, the quality doesn't even need to be perfect.
It doesn't. It just needs to be good enough to bypass critical thinking.
Right.
And the classic deployment of this is the grandparent scam. The attacker uses the cloned voice to call an elderly relative, usually late at night, claiming to have been arrested or in a car accident, demanding immediate funds via wire transfer or crypto.
Oh, that's so sinister.
And when you factor in the degraded audio quality of a bad cellular connection, maybe some ambient background noise the attacker intentionally mixes in, and the sheer adrenaline of hearing a loved one in distress, those minor AI imperfections are completely masked.
Wow. It leverages the most human vulnerability possible, right? Our desire to protect the people we love.
Exactly.
And this phenomenon is not isolated to just a few scattered anecdotes either. The scale of the sprawling networks trafficking in this material is just staggering.
It is. If we connect this to the bigger picture, Georgia's case really isn't a one-off. To understand the sheer volume, we can look at a massive international investigation that began in January 2024.
Okay.
A completely different woman, not Georgia, reported that her wedding photographs had been doctored and uploaded to a specific website online.
Her wedding photos, wow.
Yeah. And that single report of non-consensual imagery acted as a thread that investigators pulled, and it unraveled a massive infrastructure.
Wait, a single report taking down an entire network.
Single report. Detectives traced the digital footprint of that site to a server farm in Florida.
Okay.
That discovery brought in federal authorities, specifically the FBI, who swooped in and seized the domain. But when they audited the servers, they didn't just find AI-generated images of adults. They uncovered a global hub for child sexual abuse material.
Oh my God.
The authorities recovered 1.1 million indecent images of children.
1.1 million. I mean, that number fundamentally shifts how I view this entire topic.
It changes everything. The investigation identified more than 50 child victims spanning across the U.S., Canada, Australia, and the U.K. 10 suspects were identified, and legal proceedings are actively ongoing. But it demonstrated how seamlessly the infrastructure for adult non-consensual imagery overlaps with the trafficking of child abuse material.
Right. And in an era where parents share limitless photos of their kids, doesn't the inclusion of child victims force a very difficult conversation about parental behavior?
It really does.
Because we exist in this culture of constant documentation. Parents share everything. The ultrasound photos, the first day of school, bath time, sports events, tantrums. We are creating massive, public, high-definition dossiers of our children before they're even old enough to speak.
We are.
Knowing how these global networks operate, aren't we unwittingly functioning as the supply chain for these criminal enterprises? Especially since a child's identity is already worth more to a criminal than an adult's?
It is the most distressing aspect of the open source intelligence problem. We are absolutely supplying the raw material. And Georgia actually spoke out about this specific dynamic after her case concluded.
What did she say?
She highlighted how effortlessly predators operate now, saying, quote, "Everyone posts their kids on social media and it takes one photo to be put through AI and it's limitless. The raw material is just actively being handed over."
Wow.
Furthermore, like you mentioned, a child's digital footprint has a unique economic value in the cybercriminal underground. Because a child has a pristine, blank slate credit history, their compromised identity can be used to open lines of credit, secure loans, and commit extensive financial fraud long before the child ever applies for their first job or apartment.
Right. It's a dual-pronged threat. Physical and psychological exploitation on one side and total financial ruin on the other.
Exactly.
But this brings us to the core mission of our deep dive today. We have mapped the perimeter. We know the thief is often on the couch, right? And we know the raw material is already circulating. So what does this all mean?
It means we need to take action.
Yes. Moving out of the scary reality, we want to transition directly into empowerment. What can the listener actually do today to fight back?
And that's where the guidance from BeSecurityAware.com comes in. They provide a way out of the paralysis. They have compiled a clear, actionable playbook that listeners can implement immediately to harden their digital lives against these specific vectors.
Let's break those down. What is the first step in this playbook?
The transition from anxiety to action is critical here. The BeSecurityAware.com playbook is structured around minimizing your surface area. So step one is to shrink your audience and then rigorously audit it.
Right, because we established that setting your profiles to private is merely the baseline.
Right. The real work is manually reviewing your follower list.
And the metric they suggest for that audit is incredibly practical. It's the unlocked phone rule.
I love this rule. It removes all the ambiguity. You scroll through your follower list name by name. If you encounter a person that you would not physically hand your unlocked smartphone to, you remove them from your digital circle.
Wow. Even if it's like a neighbor or something.
It doesn't matter if they are former colleague, an old high school acquaintance, or a neighbor you nod to in the driveway. If they don't clear the unlocked phone threshold, they do not get access to your visual raw material.
It is ruthless.
Yeah.
But it is necessary.
Yep.
You are curating the VIP list so that only actual VIPs remain.
Exactly.
Okay, what is the second step in the playbook?
Step 2 involves fundamentally changing the types of images you share. Specifically, you need to cut out the high-resolution, front-facing face shots.
Oh, like the classic LinkedIn headshot.
Exactly. Many professionals use a single, crystal-clear, perfectly lit headshot across multiple platforms. It is their LinkedIn avatar, it's printed on their corporate ID badge, it's on the company website, and it's their social media profile picture.
So from a machine learning perspective, you are essentially providing the AI model with the absolute perfect training data on a silver platter.
Yes.
There are no shadows to calculate. The geometry of the face is perfectly centered. The resolution is incredibly high.
Yep, you're making it too easy. By diversifying your images and perhaps using photos taken from a slight angle or from further away, you introduce friction into the scraping process. You want to make it computationally annoying for a bad actor to isolate and map your facial structure.
Okay, make it annoying for them. I like that. Step 3 moves away from digital friction and relies on analog security, the family safe word.
Yes, the family safe word.
I find this fascinating. It's like an old school spy movie tactic.
Yeah.
Because biometrics, our voices, our facial expressions on a video call, they can no longer be inherently trusted as cryptographic proof of our identity. We are ironically forced to go back to analog, shared secrets to prove who we are.
It really is like a spy tactic, and it's the ultimate fail-safe in a zero-trust environment.
Yeah.
Every household needs to establish a shared secret phrase. It shouldn't be anything easily guessable from your public data, not the dog's name, not your hometown.
Right.
If you receive a frantic phone call from your spouse or your child claiming they are stranded, or in jail, or in an emergency room needing immediate funds, the very first thing you do is ask for the safe word.
Just interrupt them and ask?
Yes. If they cannot provide it, you terminate the call and attempt to reach them through known secure channels.
Which entirely short-circuits the panic-induced urgency of that grandparent scam we talked about.
Exactly. It breaks the spell.
Okay, moving to step 4. The playbook recommends utilizing a specific technical defense called stopncii.org. I know NCII stands for non-consensual intimate imagery. The concept of this tool is brilliant, but I want to make sure we understand the mechanics of how it actually works without, compromising the user's privacy even further.
Right. You don't want to just upload sensitive photos to another random website. So it operates on the principle of cryptographic hashing.
Okay.
If you have an image, perhaps a sensitive photo you shared privately, or just an innocuous photo you suspect is being manipulated, you use the Stop NCII tool directly on your smartphone or computer.
Okay, on the device itself.
Right. The tool runs an algorithm over the image file to generate a unique digital fingerprint, which is a long string of letters and numbers known as a hash.
And the crucial part here is that the hash is a one-way mathematical function. The actual photograph never leaves your device. You are only transmitting that string of text to the Stop NCII database.
Precisely. You share the hash, not the image.
That's brilliant.
It is. Stop NCII then distributes that hash to a consortium of participating platforms. The major players are all integrated. Meta, which covers Facebook and Instagram, Google, TikTok, X, and several others.
Wow, so all the big ones.
Yeah, and when any user attempts to upload a file to those platforms, the platform's automated systems calculate the hash of the incoming file and cross-reference it against the Stop NCII list.
If the hashes match.
If the hashes match, the upload is blocked at the server level before it ever goes live. And it also works against known AI-generated fakes that share the underlying image architecture.
So, it doesn't scrub the darkest, unmoderated corners of the web, but it drastically limits the distribution radius by cutting off access to the mainstream platforms where that viral damage occurs.
Exactly. It stops the bleeding.
Okay, what is the fifth and final step in the BeSecurityAware.com playbook.
Step 5 is proactive monitoring. Search yourself occasionally.
Just Google yourself.
Basically, yeah. Run reverse image searches on your primary profile photos using tools like Google Images or Tiny to see where else they might be appearing on the web. And crucially, regularly view your own social media accounts from a logged-out browser or an incognito window.
Well, that's a great point. The logged-out perspective is vital because platform updates frequently reset privacy toggles without explicit warnings.
All the time.
You might assume your account is locked down, only to view it through an incognito window and realize a recent interface update made your entire photo album publicly indexable by search engines.
Yeah, you really have to check it yourself. Now, alongside those 5 preventative steps, the BeSecurityAware.com research heavily emphasizes a critical legal mechanism that listeners need to know about to utilize if they are compromised.
Okay, a legal tool.
Yes. On May 19th, 2026, the Take It Down Act became fully enforceable under federal law in the United States.
Wow, okay. But, any legislation trying to regulate the internet usually moves at a glacial pace. How does the Take It Down Act actually operate in practice?
It's actually really robust. It introduces severe mandated timelines.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the act legally requires covered platforms, which is a broad category encompassing social networks, image hosting sites, and even dating applications, to remove non-consensual intimate imagery within 48 hours of receiving a valid request from a victim.
48 hours. That is an incredibly aggressive compliance window for tech companies that usually hide behind, automated help desks and community guidelines.
It is. And crucially, the text of the legislation specifically includes AI-generated and synthetic fakes.
That's huge.
Furthermore, the platforms are obligated to remove any known copies of that material across their entire network infrastructure.
So who has the authority to actually enforce those timelines and penalize the platforms if they ignore a victim? Because that's usually where these things fall apart.
Right. Enforcement is handled by the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC. They have the authority to levy massive financial penalties for noncompliance.
Wow.
But honestly, the most empowering aspect of the act is its accessibility. The framework is designed so that a victim does not need to retain an expensive attorney or obtain a court order to file a takedown request. The mechanism is direct and it's legally binding.
That is fantastic. Okay, so we have the preventative playbook. We audit the followers with the unlocked phone rule. We diversify the photos. We establish the safe word, generate the hashes with Stop NCII, and monitor our public footprint. And we have the legal hammer of the Take It Down Act.
Yes.
But for the listener who is internalizing all of this and wants to take the single most impactful action today, where do they start? What can you do immediately?
You start by starving the ecosystem of your raw material. I mean, you cannot reasonably unpost a decade of photos, but you can drastically shrink the active pile of data associated with your identity.
Right.
And the uncomfortable truth is that a massive percentage of your exposed data isn't even residing on the social networks you actively use.
Where is it?
It has been silently scraped, aggregated, and packaged by data broker websites that you have never even visited and never consented to.
Ah, right. These are the background check aggregators, the people search directories, the white pages websites.
Exactly. They scrape public records, property data, social media bios, and family connections, and they just sell that comprehensive profile to anyone with a credit card.
That is the shadow economy fueling the social engineering we discussed earlier.
It really is. Removing yourself from those broker databases is the most effective way to become a harder target.
And this leads directly to the call to action for our listeners today. We urgently encourage you to visit BeSecurityAware.com today. They have published a comprehensive step-by-step guide explaining exactly how to force these data brokers to delete your personal information for free.
For free, yes.
You do not need to pay one of those exorbitant subscription services to do this for you. It will take an afternoon of your time to submit the opt-out requests, but the return on investment for your personal security is immense.
It immediately raises the cost and effort required for a bad actor to target you, pushing them to look for easier, unprotected targets. So really, go to BeSecurityAware.com and reclaim the perimeter of your digital footprint.
Absolutely.
Reclaiming that data is just essential hygiene for the modern internet. But, as we process the implications of this whole deep dive, it forces a much broader philosophical question that wasn't directly in the playbook.
Okay, what is that?
Well, we are analyzing these threats through the lens of specialized AI tools or illicit forums right now. But we are rapidly approaching an inflection point where generative AI is no longer a separate application.
Right.
It is becoming a native, invisible feature seamlessly integrated into the default camera app on every smartphone and the architecture of every messaging platform.
Oh, so the friction to generate a synthetic reality is dropping to zero. It will be as simple as tapping the shutter button.
Exactly. When generating a flawless synthetic image requires zero technical skill and is functionally indistinguishable from capturing a real photograph, will the very concept of photographic proof entirely evaporate from our society?
I mean, if the visual record can no longer be trusted as an objective measure of reality, the cascading effects are staggering. How does a justice system, which relies so heavily on visual evidence, operate in a post-truth environment? How do our personal relationships survive when the baseline assumption is that seeing is literally no longer believing?
It really is the defining technological and cultural challenge of this decade.
It really is. And it brings us right back to the paradox we started with. The traditional locks on the door are obsolete when the threat is already inside, utilizing our own visual memories and our inherent trust against us. So curate your digital VIP list ruthlessly, establish that family safe word today, and visit besecurityaware.com to start scrubbing your data footprint. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.